All right, our speaker today is one of our co-founders and someone who always has something that I enjoy listening to. So, Therese Solimeno. Go ahead, Therese.
Good morning, everybody. Happy New Year.
Good morning.
By the way, the discussion about cats earlier has now prompted me to share a story I read on Facebook yesterday. So indulge me for just a minute. A German Shepherd, a yellow lab, and a cat all died and went to heaven. And they sat before the throne of God, and God looked at each of them and said, I want you to tell me why you think you were put on earth. And he started with the golden retriever. And the golden retriever, great, what did I say? Yellow lab. Started with the yellow lab. And the yellow lab said, I think I was there to be loving and attentive to all members of the family and make them feel secure in a family bond. And God said, that's very good. Come sit here on my right side. And then he looked at the German Shepherd and he said, why do you think you were put on earth? I think I was put on earth to be brave and protective and to serve humankind with that my courage and my bravery. And God said, that's very good. Come sit on my left side. And he looked at the cat and he said, and what do you think? And the cat said, I think you're sitting in my chair. Anyway, I have a cat and 2 dogs, and that's just about the hierarchy of how things go in this house. So we've just come through the Christmas season, and one of the most popular movies in the Christmas season is It's a Wonderful Life. Is there anyone who has never heard or seen that movie? I didn't think so. The gist of that, of course, and by the way, this was never intended as a Christmas movie. Apparently, it became a Christmas movie because of the last third. But the gist of it is that Jimmy Stewart's character runs into some, serious trouble towards the end of the movie, and he feels like his family would be better off if he were never born. And his guardian angel comes down and he proves to him how in unseen ways his life has touched so many people that that the world would be different if he had never been born. And of course, then he learns his lesson and he says, I'm grateful for what I have. We'll figure out a way to get through my problems, and there's a very nice resolution at the end. And there were other public news stories that came out later in the year that made me think about how we have such unseen blessings in our lives, and we don't even know it when it's happening. And I thought it might be nice today, as a reminder of the good that is around us. We've had those themes this morning already, and Peggy had a wonderful example yesterday of how she experienced an unforeseen blessing with the couple that gave her a ride home. And if we share our own experiences of things that didn't start out necessarily being a blessing, but eventually did become. So I'm gonna give a couple examples, and then I'm going to open up the floor so that this could be a little bit more of an interactive session today. And we were also chatty before that. I'm hoping that everybody's feeling chatty again right now. Now, there are times, of course, when we are deliberately giving of ourselves, or people are giving to us, whether we give to charity or we give our time or our talents or our treasures to charities, to individuals, to students, to animals, to whatever situation is where we are fully aware of our the blessings that we are giving. But what's amazing to me are the coincidences, if you will, and we don't really believe in coincidences, do we, that happen throughout life that are surprising and remarkable and carry through our lives. The first example I'm going to give, it's a very public example, is of the composer, lyricist, Stephen Sondheim. Those of you who are big Broadway fans know who he is, and he passed away at the end of November, and he was an amazing influence on Broadway. Some say he's the greatest Broadway composer ever. He was the one that did the lyrics to Gypsy and West Side Story, and later on went on to write his own musicals like Company and A Little Night Music, and Send in the Clowns, and some songs that we're very well familiar with. And what interests me about his story is that when he was a teenager, he and his mother, his parents got divorced, and he and his mother moved to Pennsylvania from New York, just random place. And turns out that his mother made friends with Oscar Hammerstein of Rodgers and Hammerstein fame. And Stephen Sondheim always said that he was so enamored of him. He was like a mentor to Stephen Sondheim because he didn't have a father, and he was an impressionable teenage boy at the time, that if he'd been an archaeologist, Stephen Sondheim would have been an archaeologist. But he was a Broadway show composer or lyricist. So he taught Stephen Sondheim how to write Broadway shows. And if it were not for that random, unexpected incidents of moving to Pennsylvania and happening to be live next door to Oscar Hammerstein, we would not have the product of a 60, 70-year musical career. And I find that an amazing coincidence. There's another story that Carol Burnett tells of graduating UCLA, I think, and she moved to New York to become an actress, and she wasn't doing really well. And one day someone gave her $1,000, just out of the blue, $1,000 that she was not expecting, anticipating, she did not ask for, but that $1,000 gave her enough financial security at the time to do what she needed to do to then go on to be on Broadway, and then the Gary Moore show, and the rest of her career, which is amazing. So we're not all Stephen Sondheims and Carol Burnett's. Our blessings come in small ways, big ways, lifelong ways, or maybe momentary ways. But in my life, I wanted to share something that it's surprising for me, because it's almost like angels come in and then they leave. They come in for the when they need to, and then they leave. And I'm talking about human angels. In 1989, I was working in marketing for a computer software company, and I went to a trade show in Las Vegas. And I had a box full of literature. Those were the days when we actually printed things. And I was trying to get into the trade show hall. And this random gentleman that I didn't know from anyone opened the door for me, and we started a chat. And he worked at a magazine, a software magazine, and their publishing company was back in New Hampshire, and he just happened to be at this trade show. But he opens the door for me, and we start chatting, and we made fast friends, and we had dinner and spent a little time during the trade show. And then he went back to New Hampshire, and I came back to San Luis Obispo. And then 6 months later, I saw him again at another trade show in Atlanta, and that was that. I think that was the last time I saw him. His name was Gary. And but over time, you check in, you send an email, how's it going? You meet people along the way. And it was 4 years later, and I was in great need of a job. And Gary happened to call me, again, randomly out of the blue, to catch up and see what was going on. And I told him I'm looking for a job. And he said, "What are you looking for?" I said, "I really don't know. I'm at a place where I'm not sure if I'm doing what I want to be doing." And he said, "Well, we have a sister publication in the Bay Area, and they're looking for an event manager." And I had done trade shows and things as part of my marketing experience, but I was never what I considered an event manager. He said, "I think you'd be good at this job." And I went, "Well, So he put my name in, I interviewed, I got the job. And it was the first of what is now a 30-year career for me. Still have not seen Gary since 1990. And he will always be that angel in my life that did something for me that I did not even expect, and has had an influence on my entire life. So I'd like to open the floor to see if there's anyone who has a similar story, who would like to share and when we're done taking stories, I have a point to make at the end of all of this. So is there anyone who would like to share? Oh, looking for raised hands. Oh, Joe, okay. And unmute yourself.
In 2011, I got laid off from my job in Bakersfield as a geologist working for a large oil company, Era Energy. And I sent out my information saying, well, I no longer have this phone number. I took retirement actually. And I sent it to all my friends, just giving them my new phone number and new information. And I got 2 people that said, well, one fellow said that would you like to move to Borger, Texas? And I knew this guy from college, and I didn't really want to go to Texas. So another fellow that I had worked with in California said, well, would you like to go to Santa Maria? And I said, well, that sounds interesting. I'd been to Santa Maria one time in my life. And so I said, sure. And so I interviewed and was hired on the spot. But I wasn't ready to go back to work yet. It was like in April, I guess. So I decided to just put them on hold and take the summer off. And 3 months later, I got a call back from this friend, Mark, said, well, Joe, if you don't come to work, we're going to hire somebody else. I said, okay. So I started working in September and I'm still working for him, consulting. And this fellow, Mark, that had offered me the interview with this company was an acquaintance and a friend when I worked with him out at Elk Hills. And because of that, I got this job that I'm still working a little bit and got to move to the Central Coast of California. And that changed my life. And anyway, I think he's kind of an angel. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
And clearly that was a blessing for us too. So
Oh,
thanks for sharing that.
sure.
Judy. Unmute yourself, hon.
There you go. Last Sunday, came home from the wonderful, wonderful Burning Bowl and White Stone event. And I thank everybody who put that together. It was so lovely. And I was in my own space. I was just kind of heading into the main door of my apartment building. And there was a lady that was moving some things in. And so I had my apartment directly across from me has been vacant for quite a while. And I've been praying that I would get someone very, very lovely in there with wonderful energy. And so I said to this woman very quickly, are you moving in? And she said, no, my sister is. I said, that's wonderful. So I go in and I shut my door, and a little later, my buzzer rings and this lady is standing in front of me, and she's the person who's moving in. And she says to me, my sister said, oh, I think that's a Unity person, Unity from Unity. And I said, who is your sister? And she said, Erin Noble, Erin Noble Welsh.
Yeah.
So Charmaine is across from me. Erin is her sister. Margie is her mother. And of course, Mark Welsh is sort of half related there. So I have a Unity person sort of across from me. She's got a beautiful sculpture outside her door of like an angel with a heart. And it's so wonderful. And I was praying for somebody with wonderful energy. This lovely lady, Charmaine, was in an auto accident, which I did not know, and she's brain damaged. So, but she is very lively, lovely, and I'm looking forward to seeing Erin at some point, or Gabby, or one of the, or Mark, or somebody that, will come by. And so Sharon Metzger is at the other end of the corridor. I'm surrounded by Unity people, and I just love it. I just love it. And I would like to mention something about Sharon. I hope that you will all say a prayer for her. She has 4-stage kidney cancer. She's going through chemo, and she's having reaction to it. And she is being so, so brave and so centered. And I'm hoping that she will somehow pull through from this. She's lovely. And she's the original person that was in this building. So I thank everybody. I've had lots of angels in my life. When I moved up here, I've had angels that came forth miraculously, immediately, who have introduced me to lots of people. My first boss at an ad agency in Chicago took me under her wing and taught me everything that I needed to know to start off. When I decided to move to LA, she wrote a letter of recommendation to several people in LA as an introduction. So I've had lots of angels in my life. When I think about it, I'm really blessed. I'm really blessed. So
That's great.
we have
That's
to
great.
watch out for those angels and be aware when they come.
That's great, Judy. Thank you. And thanks for letting us know about Sharon. Those of us who know her will reach out to her, I'm sure. All right, we probably can do one more. Anybody else want to share an unexpected
There's
blessing? Oh my goodness.
Amanda
Okay,
and
yeah, go ahead.
Suzanne have their hands up.
Okay, Amanda, go ahead.
Okay, I'll be quick. This is also job related. Many years ago, that's to say the 80s, I was dating this guy who taught himself how to program, and he said, you should get into software, you'd really like it. And I'm like, not really interested. And then a few years later, I was volunteering at my beloved Insight, and one of the fellow volunteers said to me, you should get into sales, you really belong in sales. And I'm like, maybe. So anyhow, fast forward a couple of years after that, I ended up in software sales, where I was for 30 happy and productive years. So you never know, they come. And the thing about that guy saying to me, you belong in sales, I see people like that. And you kind of we sort of recognize each other. So thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. Suzanne.
Happy New Year, everybody. I just wanted to share that, I don't have work-related angels. I never seem to find those angels. I ran into a lot of egos over my life, period. But, I always took jobs that I was interested in. But what I was going to say is right after Mom had died, my car, I hadn't been taking care of my car because I was taking care of Mom. And we had some neighbors that lived next door, and I had found out that my car was in need of some major work. And I didn't have any money. I was, trying to scramble, trying to figure out, where I was going, what I was doing. And my neighbors came up to me one day and he says, I don't want you to worry, because I was having garage sales right after Mom had passed. Friend came out from Colorado to help me have the first garage sale. What an angel. Brenda, one of my best friends. So, I was still struggling and trying to figure everything out. And he came over to me one day and he says, I don't want you to be worried about not having rent for December. And he said, I'm going to give you $750. And I said, you don't have to do that. There's no. And he goes, no, I prayed and God said I needed to do this. And I was like, wow, just amazing, And so what happened is he actually ended up me going to his mechanic and paying to have all the seals done on my car. And I, was like, can I pay you back? And he goes, no, this is a gift for you. And, there are people out there and they're, they come into your world but you have to be that light as well in order to be the help to other people and that kind of thing. But I wanted to just share that, all kinds of interesting times. And yes, carry on.
That's
Love
great,
to all.
Suzanne. Thank you. And we have, I probably
Yeah.
one more. I know Tink, you had your hand up.
Well, you know, I could probably fill a program myself with all the miracles in my life, but one struck me as when I was going through a breakup a few years ago. I mean, I never anticipated the breakup. We had this beautiful home. I had an art studio. I thought we were there forever. And then it was over. And I found myself living on an acre, taking care of this big home that wasn't selling. And of course, needing to get rid of all of the items in my art studio and downsize, and all this darkness was popping into my mind. You know, can you afford as a single person to stay on the Central Coast, etc. And so I started looking for homes, and I wanted to be in the 5 cities area because I do have a son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren here. And I must have looked at 30 homes, guys, and things that were in my price range or stretching it some. It was sketchy. It was sketchy. I didn't want to, you know, be married to a house and always be worried about making a house payment. So a friend mentioned they were going to create a new mobile home spot where I live. And it was the first time they had created this spot in over 30 years. They made one new spot in this park. So I immediately wrote a letter and sent it in as an application. Well, there were 18 people who did that. And so I kept trying to buy a home. My home wasn't selling. Just imagine the stress and keeping up an acre as a single person, etc. Well, long story short, I stopped in the office here at Sunrise Terrace one day just to say, hi, I'm the one who really wants that spot. And the manager was training a new manager, and they had told me it's going to be a random drawing. You're one of 18, random drawing, there you go. And this time she turned to me at the counter and said, the board has changed their minds. It's going to be first come, first serve. And then she let it slip. I was number 2 on the list. And so I tell you, prayers, 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 more and more prayers. But I also had to come up with $250,000 when they wanted it. And so it was like, oh my gosh, I need this space, but I need 250,000 to work out. And guys, miracles happen. My home closed escrow. I got the call. My home was scheduled to close escrow. It had fallen out once. And then what happens? But I get the call that the first person on the list said, I don't want it. And they called me to say, do you want this place? But you need to put down $250,000. And I'm like, and escrow closed, and I had that check within 3 days and moved it to the park's account. And I'm here, and out my front window, I see the Victorian, and out my back porch, I see Chris's house up on the hill. So I feel like I'm in the vortex of Unity 5 cities. And I thank God every day. Thanks.
That's great. Thanks, Tink. I'm going to share one more story. And it's about random people, angels that come and go. And so in early 1991, I was going through some pretty dark stuff in my life. And my mother had died the year before. I had gotten a divorce. And just, you know, and in the process, I managed to quit my job and just found myself doing pretty much nothing but laying on the floor staring at the ceiling most of the time. It was that bad. And I would go, when I did get out of the house, and I would go and I would, you know, meet people that I barely knew or maybe knew from work or something. I had at least 3 people say on separate occasions, you need to go check out this church in San Luis. And they would talk about the energy there, the positive energy, and this really, you know, cute kind of hippie minister. And I was not interested because I had grown up in the Catholic Church, and I did not want any more guilt heaped on me by religion. And I had a born again Christian sister who was always pounding me to, you know, seek Jesus as my Lord and Savior. And I went, nope, don't think that's for me. So anyway, in another attempt to try to soothe my soul, I flew up to Seattle to see a really good friend of mine. And you know, those of you who've had this kind of experience might know the feeling of you're not comfortable anywhere you are. So as soon as I got to Seattle, I wasn't comfortable there either, but I was there and I was visiting. And we went to Pike's Place Market, you know, the place down by the wharf that has, you know, fish and vegetables and all where the original Starbucks is, that kind of stuff. And we go up to some random vendor there. And my friend says, oh, I want you to meet my friend so-and-so. And whatever his name was, he said, where are you from? I said, San Luis Obispo. He said, oh, one of my best friends in the world is the minister at the Unity Church there. You really should go check it out. And I thought, oh my God, this is like the 4th time I've heard about this church. And I had no idea that even up in Seattle, it had reach. So I got home and took me yet another month. And then one day I woke up and I said, get off your ass and go do something about how you're feeling. Therese, go check this out. What have you got to lose? And I walked in and I've never left. And if it hadn't been for these 4 random people, including the guy in Seattle, I wouldn't be here. And I hope that's a good thing in my life. So anyway, the point of all this, and I'm talking about random blessings and unseen blessings, and particularly about the ones where people are involved, is to instill the idea that you never know if the person you're talking to is going to be that angel for you, or if you're going to be that angel for them. And so I think the trick with this, and it's a good way to be anyway, is to treat everyone you meet as a possible blessing, and to approach every encounter with, wow, this is pretty exciting. What blessing is going to come from this today? And even if it's, you know, dropping your stuff off at the dry cleaner, to have that approach when you walk in, rather than, oh Lord, the last 5 times I was here, they messed up my dress or something, is going to create a much more pleasant experience for you and the person you're talking to. And if nothing else comes of it, you'll have that pleasant experience. And I know that in this day and age, first of all, we don't really get that close to people anymore because we're not out and about, and we're also seeing them with masks on our faces. But if we can find a way to send that kind of love through our eyeballs and to make it a pleasant interaction, no matter what it is, I think we collectively can help lift what's happening in the world. So I think for a while there, they were calling it, what if everyone you encountered was Jesus Christ in human form? And that's not a bad way to look at it too, but I don't think it's necessary to even think that far, because if you know what Unity teaches, the Christ is within everyone in that form. So to be pleasant to a bank teller on those rare occasions that you go to the bank, or to be pleasant to the grocery store clerk as you're being checked through, or to find a moment to treat each other like you're looking at an angel, and you never really know. I mean, we've seen in these examples that any encounter has the potential to be life-changing. So anyway, I want to close with that in mind, with that attitude in mind. I want to close with what I have that's called the Buddhist Prayer. And it doesn't have a source, but I found it somewhere along the way. I had it in my files, and I want to share it again because I think it's a great blessing for all of us. Let all things be healthy. Let all things be peaceful. Be sure to count your blessings at least once per day. Forgive those who have hurt you and those who have offended you, but forgive yourself for what you have done and let go of what you have failed to do. That which is done, there is no need to speak of. That which is past, there's no need to blame. Have self-control, self-knowledge, self-respect, the courage to dare. Be tranquil. The light of intelligence will shine. Strive to make the spot where you stand beautiful. Then beauty and harmony will follow you in all your ways and in all your days. And with that, I say thank you very much for listening and participating. And I behold the angel in each of you. Thank you.